Hi there guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. Today we're talking about holiday music. Hi there guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time, and if it is your first time, hit like and subscribe below and that notification bell. It really does help the channel grow. So those that are regulars on my channel will know that I've recently returned back from holiday, and while I was on holiday, well, I suppose everybody does the same. You listen to music through your earpods, and that sort of gets you through the day, lounging on the sun loungers while you're drinking a beer. No product placement, I promise. But I thought it would be nice for me to discuss what my listening habits were while I was in Tenerife and why. So without further ado, let's crack on with this very, very quick rundown of what music I listened to while I was on holiday. Right, so from the outset, on my phone I've got a Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It's what I use for filming these videos. It's got a great camera on it, and you know, but it's also got quite a bit of storage on it as well. So I've sort of downloaded, store a load of MP3s on there for listening through my AirPods, and I've done that like months and months and months ago. But excuse me, about 6 months ago, my son already had Spotify, and basically what he said, well, Dad, I'll get the family account on Spotify and then we can all use it on our phones. And I said, sounds good to me. So obviously having Spotify while I was on holiday made it a lot easier for me to just pick and choose what I wanted to listen to. And to be fair, Spotify is great when you're listening through earbuds. If you're streaming through a hi-fi system at home, not so much, you know, but that's a story for another video maybe. But today I thought I'd like to quickly run down on what I listen to and why. And the first one that I listened to was Curtis Mayfield. Now, I've got there was 2 albums of his that I listened to while I was on holiday, and the first one is my favourite, and that is Back to the World. Now, I've spoke about this on my channel previously. I discovered this years and years ago. I went round a friend's house, he was playing it on his stereo, and I was like, who's this? And he said, oh, it's Curtis Mayfield. And I was like, that's it, I was smitten. This is a first pressing on the Curton label. When I bought this, it was still sealed. It was unbelievable. It was, I don't know what the record store was, but this was still sealed in shrink wrap, and I had to crack the shrink wrap open. It's a gatefold. It's the original with the original label. But I listened to this via Spotify. One of my favourite records by Curtis Mayfield. One of only 2 albums of his that I do have. I've got this and I've got Superfly. The Superfly is the Run Out Groove version, the double album version. But this is a fantastic album. If you've not heard it, it's got some cracking songs on it. Every single one of the songs on this is top drawer, to be fair. So yeah, Back to the World, Curtis Mayfield. Following that, it seemed natural for me to dig a little bit deeper with Curtis Mayfield. So there I was laying on my sun lounger with my phone, got Spotify, and I searched for his debut album, Curtis. Now, I've heard this many times, but I don't actually own it on vinyl, and I need to put that right, because his debut album is an absolute classic. It's got the full-length version of Move On Up on it, as you well know. Curtis, the first album, Curtis, is just fantastic. Curtis Mayfield, I think, goes under the radar a lot when people are talking about classic artists. You know, there's always others that are sort of top of the pile, if you like. You know, you got your James Browns, and you've got your Otis Reddings, and you know, Marvin Gaye, to name just three. But Curtis Mayfield is never really up there. He's sort of below the radar, if you like, which is a shame. But anyway, yeah, Curtis was another album I listened to on my holiday. Right, third one. Now, this is an album that I don't possess. Never heard it before I listened to it on holiday. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this. But it was a recommendation from a friend of mine. I mentioned that I was listening to Curtis Mayfield and this, that and the other, and he said, oh, you need to check out Gil Scott-Heron. And I was like, never. Well, I've heard of him, but I've never heard him. So I thought, well, it's not going to cost me anything. I'll check it out. So I listened to Pieces of a Man, which I believe is his debut album, I think. Pieces of a Man. It seems to be the album that most audiophiles are drawn to, and the one that is sort of top of people's lists to buy. I listened to it. It was pretty much what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting as much spoken word. That was interesting. It's sort of an early sort of rap almost, if you like. But yeah, Gil Scott-Heron, I was really, really impressed by him. So I think I might delve a little bit deeper with Gil Scott-Heron. Certainly I might try and source a vinyl copy of Pieces of a Man. I think that's probably a record that I'd like in my collection. Right, next. I for years, since the mid 80s, I've been a huge Cult fan. I like the Cult, even back to when they were Southern Death Cult. But my interest in the Cult really sort of went up a gear when they sort of done the Electric album, the Sonic Temple album. From then on, my interest sort of went higher when they got that heavier sound. And I listened to an album that was only ever released on CD when it came out, and that was Live at the Marquee. That was recorded at a fan club concert at the Marquee Club in London. I believe it was 1991, 92, can't remember the exact date. Year it came out, but I do know they were touring. It was on the back end of the Sonic Temple tour. They were just touring the I think it was a self-titled album, The Cult. It just had the black and white cover, I think. They were touring that at the time, and when they done the Marquee Club, that was a warm-up gig for the support slot they had at Milton Keynes Bowl supporting Guns N' Roses. I've discussed this before, but I'll just very, very quickly brush over it. When the Cult supported Guns N' Roses at Milton Keynes Bowl, Axl Rose wasn't best pleased because the Cult had been on the road for about 6 months. They were really road hardened by that time. They were really clued up with what they were doing. So when they played the Milton Keynes Bowl, they essentially blew Guns N' Roses off the stage. And at that time, that was when Axl Rose was going through his hissy fit stage, when he was like turning up late, and I think that gig he rolled up about an hour and a half late, something like that. He was not happy. He was not a happy bunny. But anyway, so I listened on holiday to Live at the Marquee. It's got some cracking live versions of some stuff on there. You've got Love Removal Machine, oh God, She Sells Sanctuary, obviously. There's a bit on there called Amplification Breakdown. I think that's when Billy Duffy's amps went down. Something went wrong. Zap City's on there. That's a very, very sort of rarely gets an outing live, but the version on the Marquee album is excellent. Rain is on there. Again, that's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Earth Mofo is on there. All of the Harden one. I think the Phoenix is on there. Phoenix. But anyway, anyhow, a brilliant album. If you can seek it out, the Cult live at the Marquee. I highly recommend it if you like the Cult, if you've not heard it. And from there, I went on to listen to the Ceremony album. That's an album that I don't think, I didn't own it back in the day when it first came out, but I heard it courtesy of a friend of mine. And I liked it a lot. It was, to me, the Ceremony album sounded to me like a natural progression from the Sonic Temple album. Although I believe there was an album in between Sonic Temple and Ceremony. I think you had Sonic Temple, then you had the self-titled, then you had the Ceremony album. There was a lawsuit on the Ceremony album as well, due to the young Indian girl on the front cover. Apparently that was used without the parents' permission, so they took the record company to court over that. Anyway, moving swiftly on from the Cult, and if you saw my short that I published while I was on holiday, you'll know that the Verve got an absolute hammering while I was on holiday. I listened to Storm in Heaven, their first album, A Northern Soul, their second album, both really good albums, and also Urban Hymns, but not the album You Think I Did. So I've got here the box set, which came out, I think, I don't know when this came out, 2017, there you go. And I think that would have been the 10th anniversary, I believe, maybe. But anyway, this has got a live concert on it, live at Hay Hall. And what I like about live recordings is you tend to get them, they tend to play more free, they're not restricted to studio restrictions, etc. And Nick McCabe, for me, is one of the best unsung guitar heroes out there. Nick McCabe, I think, is up there with John Squire. He really is. The live at Hay Hall concert on this is staggering. They did have Simon Tong on guitar. This was when there was a very short-lived 5-piece version of the Verve. Simon Tong. You also had obviously the rest of them, but Simon was on there playing extra guitar and keyboards. But Hay Hall, yeah, the live recordings on this box set I listen to a lot. I've got a lot of respect for Nick McCabe. And yeah, so that got an absolute hammering, it really did. And then we get on to the last one. Now the last one I actually listened to for the first time while I was on holiday, because it was released while I was on holiday, but obviously I pre-ordered it, but I hadn't actually got my hands on the record, so I had to stream it to actually listen to the music so I could do a review, and that was Luck and Strange by David Gilmour. Now this is the coloured vinyl variety, and yeah, I've done a review of this, and it's a good album. I listened to it 2 or 3 times via Spotify, and I then done a review video of it when I got back from holiday, so I won't go on too much about that. I will link to the review video below in the description below. But yeah, David Gilmour. There was a few others that I sort of dipped my toe in, you know, with various other artists. Obviously you're on Spotify, so you tend to, a bit like channel hopping on the TV, I was hopping from one artist to another, but they're the ones that I actually listened to properly and listen to whole albums. And so with that was my holiday listening in a nutshell. What do you tend to listen to when you're on holiday? Do you sort of veg out with one artist or 2 artists, or do you just do a playlist of stuff? What do you do? Put that in the comments below, I'll be interested to see. Thanks for joining me, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye bye now.